Hello, my name is Cole Swanson. I'm a senior economist in the competition branch of Packers and Stockyards. Packers and Stockyards is a division of the Fair Trade Practices Program with the USDA's Agricultural Marketing Service, or AMS. On June 10th, 2024, USDA published a new proposed rule titled Poultry Grower Payment Systems and Capital Improvement Systems in the Federal Register with a 60-day comment period. This webinar presentation is intended to provide an easy-to-understand overview of the proposed rule. We'll start by discussing some background and history that led to the development of the rule. Then we'll describe challenges the rule is meant to address, the intent behind the different components of the rule, and the method by which each component of the rule addresses the challenge. The proposed rule is the third in a suite of Priority Packers and Stockyards Act regulatory initiatives. The Poultry Grower Payment Systems and Capital Improvement Systems proposed rule includes three proposed regulatory provisions. One, to prohibit payment practices that involve reducing or discounting the grower's rate of compensation stated in a contract under a poultry grower ranking system, commonly known as a tournament, for broiler chickens. Two, to establish a duty of fair comparison to ensure that grower comparisons are conducted in a reasonable and fair way that does not disadvantage specific growers and requires live poultry dealers, or LPDs, to adopt policies and procedures for operating a fair ranking system for broiler growers. And three, to require LPDs to provide capital improvement disclosure documents to broiler growers when the LPD requests the grower to make additional capital investments. The authority for this proposed rule comes from the Packers and Stockyards Act of 1921. Section 202 of the Act includes a prohibition on any unfair, unjustly discriminatory, or deceptive practice or device. Section 401 of the Act requires LPDs to keep such account records and memoranda as fully and correctly disclose all transactions involved in its business. Section 410 of the Act bans the failure to pay the full amount due to the poultry grower on account of such poultry. Over the years, USDA has received complaints from poultry growers about tournament pay systems where growers are grouped and ranked for payment settlement purposes. Many growers express concern that tournament pay systems lack transparency, that tournament operations relating to the distribution of inputs and production practices are often unfair, and that additional capital improvement requirements can be unfair and may lack transparency. With this proposed rule, USDA is proposing certain prohibitions and additional disclosures to address certain of those concerns. Specifically, the agency has received complaints that tournament contracts lack transparent firm base pay. Growers can actually accurately project earnings due to lack of information on the wide range of payment outcomes. The grower success or failure depends on factors such as inputs controlled by LPDs, and that equipment and housing upgrades benefit the LPD with no assurance that the grower will be able to recoup the investment costs. Often growers are not provided with critical information to make fully informed decisions related to the upgrades. The scope of this proposed rule would include broiler chicken growers who grow out birds under a poultry grower ranking or tournament system, as well as live poultry dealers, LPDs, also called integrators, who operate the tournaments and request additional capital investments on the part of broiler growers who are under contract with them. There are three components to the proposed rule. First, proposed section 201-106 would prohibit live poultry dealers from reducing the grower's rate of compensation due to tournament performance. Pay may be increased due to tournament performance, but not reduced. Second, proposed section 201-110 would establish that LPDs have a duty to make fair comparisons when using a tournament. Third, proposed section 201-112 would require that LPDs must make specific disclosures when requesting additional capital investments. Each of these components focuses on addressing a specific challenge to broiler growers. The challenge addressed by proposed section 201-106 is that broiler tournament contracts frequently include complex compensation systems involving premiums and discounts from a stated base pay. These payment systems may be less than fully transparent to broiler growers. Specifically, these payment systems may mislead growers about expected revenue and the potential range of payment outcomes. They may create difficulties in estimating the minimum compensation growers can reasonably expect to earn, and they may impair growers' ability to compare contract offers between live poultry dealers with whom the grower can contract. USDA intends to address this challenge through proposed section 201-106. The intent of proposed 201-106 would be to require LPDs to establish and implement more standardized and transparent contract terms for grower compensation and broiler arrangements, where payment is based on grouping, ranking, or comparison to other growers. Specifically, if finalized, proposed 201-106 would prohibit LPDs from discounting or reducing a rate of grower compensation stated in the broiler growing agreement. This would require LPDs to implement a method of calculating grower payments that uses only positive relative performance adjustments. In other words, bonuses, not discounts. The challenge addressed by proposed section 201-110 results from the fact that LPDs control the inputs provided and the production practices assigned to broiler growers during the operation of poultry tournaments. The unequal provision or assignment of unfavorable inputs or practices by LPDs harms growers when they are unfairly compared to other growers in a broiler tournament ranking system to determine compensation. LPDs cause financial harm to growers when they fail to take action to mitigate or manage the factors under their control that affect relative performance outcomes in a tournament ranking system. USDA intends to address this challenge through proposed section 201-110. Proposed 201-110 would require LPDs to make good faith efforts to operate broiler tournaments in a manner that seeks to prevent individual growers from being unfairly compared and thereby disadvantaged by factors controlled by the LPD and not the grower. If finalized, proposed 201-110 would establish a duty for LPDs to provide a fair comparison among growers. In addition, proposed 201-110 would require LPDs to adopt policies and procedures for operation of a poultry grower ranking system that is consistent with this duty to keep and maintain written records and regularly review compliance. The challenge addressed by proposed section 201-112 results from the fact that broiler growers must make substantial investments in production capital that is specific to and has little value outside of poultry production. LPDs often request additional grower investments and capital improvements during the course of poultry growing relationships. Additional capital investments benefit LPDs, but may cause growers to take on additional debt and increase grower dependence on LPDs within the broiler production contracting relationship. LPDs may deceptively or unfairly expose growers to financial risk by requesting without additional capital investments without providing sufficient information to the grower. USDA intends to address this challenge through proposed section 201-112. Proposed 201-112 would require LPDs to disclose critical information about additional capital improvement investments so that growers can make informed investment decisions. The disclosure would also provide both growers and AMS with additional information to facilitate enforcement of grower rights under the P&S Act when terms are unfair, specifically under existing rule section 201-216, which was published in 2011. Proposed section 201-112 would require LPDs to disclose critical information about additional capital improvement investments by providing a capital improvement disclosure document to growers when the LPD requests investments. We encourage you to review the proposed rule in its entirety and submit your comments through www.regulations.gov or www.federalregister.gov. When commenting, please reference the document number and page number in the Federal Register. All comments submitted in response to this proposed rule will be included in the record and will be publicly available. Any personal information included in your comment will be published with your comment without change. You do have the option of commenting anonymously. Thank you for joining us for this webinar on the Poultry Grower Payment Systems and Capital Improvement Systems proposed rule.